Welcome back to the Coaching Network. My name is Maria Medina. I am your business and networking coach, and we're on to another episode of Let's Talk Business. I'd like to introduce my guest and have her tell us a little bit about herself and her business. So, Lauren, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
I am Lauren Fernandez. I am the co-founder of Palmco Staffing. We specialize in recruiting for the legal industry on a national level. So basically, anything legal we handle. And prior to that, I had a sales and marketing company with over 100 employees across three different states, which is how we got into the whole recruiting. Because when you're recruiting and when you're building the teams, it's so important on not just how many seats that you fill, but who you fill in those seats. So in that company, I started really nerding out on all of that. We ended up selling it and we started Palmco Staffing, where I now focus on helping law firms and other companies in the legal industry fill those seats with the right people.
I always like talking to people that had multiple ventures or
Mhm.
experiences just because I think it adds to the story, which is it's like mine. I used to work in corporate, then I had a print shop, and now I do this, and everything sort of segued into what I'm doing now, which was
Kind of
all
builds
part
on
of
itself.
networking. That's
Yeah.
right. And that's how we met. We met through that on the core collective, which is online
Hmm.
networking. Otherwise, we wouldn't have met. And I feel
Exactly.
a lot of people forget to use their network to meet just interesting individuals that you just never know either how they might help you in the future or they can help somebody that you know in your network in the future.
Absolutely. There's so many times where I send somebody in for an interview and somebody's like, "Oh yeah, I knew them. I knew them 20 years ago. We were in, school together. Our first law firms were the same." Or, so you have no idea the conversations you're having now, where, like you were saying, like where they're going to take you 10 years, 15 years.
And you must see this a lot, but it's not about what you know as much as it is, obviously, because it is the law, but it is who
Hmm.
you know as well.
My dad always said, "It's who you know gets you in the door, what you know keeps you there."
That's right. Oh, I
It's
like
it is
that.
so true. Yeah, so true.
I like that. I know that one of my successes was running the business for 10 years and then successfully selling it. Because I know some people struggle to sell, sometimes they sell at a loss. I don't know if
Hmm.
this is one of your successes, but what has been your greatest success so far in your entrepreneurship career?
Definitely the other business that we did see a lot of success there. Obviously, anytime that you can scale a company that it's worth selling and then being able to sell it, that is a big success and it shouldn't be, looked down upon. But, as a small business, now that I've done this twice, realistically, being able to, I mean, because Palmco Staffing it'll be in its third year in January. Being able to say that you've been in business for 3 years is a success in and of itself, which I think as entrepreneurs, type A personalities, we take that for granted. Because if you look around, there's so many businesses that make it 6 months, that make it maybe a year, and they end up having to close their doors. So even being able to wake up and say, "Hey, I have been successful for 3 years," is a big success.
We take it for granted when we're like in a larger company with the resources that we have, but it's still
Hmm.
just as when we're in a smaller company and we're able to achieve just as much, but just at a smaller level because we're able to connect with people in different ways. And I feel
Yeah.
that we don't give ourselves credit. Congrats on three
No,
years.
we
I'm
don't.
also
Yeah,
3 years
you
in December.
well done.
That's yeah, I know, and it's my second one, so it's always fun. I found that when I was launching the coaching network, I thought I'll just do what I did with the other business, and that's gonna
Mhm.
work. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Well, I
did
mean,
not
it's
work.
And there's always especially when you're launching number 2 or number 3 or, whatever business you're on, especially if you came from one that was successful, successful enough that you sold it, it's very scary to have to start back at day 1 where nothing, you're literally, like, starting from the beginning. You have none of that success or, momentum that you had built up in your last company. It is scary to have to start all over again, and I mean, there's some mental game to it, and mentality. So being able to be brave enough to do that and continue on is a success.
Yeah, and I feel that overcoming that mindset and over sort of that negative self-talk, because we're our worst critics, is
Oh,
one of the
absolutely.
biggest obstacles to success. So, what would
100%.
you say was your biggest challenge thus far, and how did you overcome it?
So our biggest challenge recently is a little bit maybe not normal, what most people are facing, but so my husband is a co-founder, so we work together at Palmco Staffing. 2 years ago, he was actually diagnosed with a degenerative autoimmune disease that led to stage 3 heart failure. So we've been dealing with that while also getting Palm Coast Staffing up and running. So it's been a blessing that we've been able to kind of work our schedules the way we need to help take care of, what he needs to. But, having all of those health scares along the way has also been a challenge for sure. So that's probably been one of our biggest challenges or struggles that we've been dealing with.
And what would you say has helped you so far in not, I mean, you're not overcoming it, you're still dealing with it. So you're living with it, and I can commend
Hmm.
you because you're essentially a caregiver now because you're helping him as well, right? And you're making sure that
Hmm.
he's getting to his appointments,
Yeah.
getting his checkups, and being there for him, being his advocate sometimes when he can't be. So what's something that has helped you with the process so far?
I think it's redefining what would be nice to have and what needs to happen. I kind of correlate it to, I would like to say that I climb Mount Everest, but I have absolutely zero desire to ever climb Mount Everest. And so it's figuring out, what things need to happen now, kind of prioritizing, what are the things that would be nice to have the business at, what goals would I like it to be at, but realistically, what can we do right now? And focusing on the present, but building in the flexibility for the future, if that makes sense. So kind of not getting stuck just in all the things that I can't do right now, but realizing, okay, realistically, this is what I can do. This is a sign of, success, whatever these metrics are. But then also realizing that this is a season and it's not forever. And so how do I set myself up to get to those other goals later on?
Yeah, and you get a lot
Mentality
of
again.
people that deal with that and they have that mentality, but they don't know how to get themselves out of it because they're just stuck there. It's that analysis paralysis. They have that
Hmm.
giant to-do list. They probably don't even have that health thing that you have going on top of it. And they struggle to make that decision of, okay, what is the priority? And I always tell my clients to think of why. Like, why am
Yeah.
I
What?
sending this email? Why am I recording this Let's Talk Business?
Hmm.
Why am I hosting my workshop on Wednesday? Why? And once you start
Yeah.
defining the reason behind every action that you're taking in your business, you're thinking, okay, I'm doing it for this reason. And it might be to get new clients or to optimize my systems or to
Hmm.
grow my email list, whatever that reason is. And then I think, okay, what is my true priority? Is it income? Okay, so I need to focus on all the client income activities. Is
Hmm.
it to optimize my business? And I need to focus on, making my website a little bit more accessible, making my automations work better, doing workflows, doing SOPs. So I think the reason behind that why is how to prioritize. Do you find that
Yeah.
that's how you prioritize your list?
Absolutely. I mean, you always start with the macro and then work it down to the micro. So where do I want to be? And then you break it down to what steps do I need to get there. And sometimes it is just checking off, yeah, I cleaned out my mailbox today and my inbox. It was a good day. And sometimes it's bigger things like, coming on a meeting with you. So I think for me, I am very, very old school. I still have my list that I check off of all the things that I need to get done every day. And I check it off with a blue pen. And if I didn't do it, I cross it out with a red pen. And, it works for me. And just being able to, have those small victories of, yeah, I did this. Yes, I did that. I did get that done. As an entrepreneur or, somebody with a really small business, I mean, you spend a lot of time by yourself and a lot of time in your head, and it does feel like it's you against the world sometimes. Having that support network like the core collective is great. A lot of it just comes to staying organized and knowing the whys behind the whats and what motivates you and why did you start this business in the first place.
I was just talking to somebody on a
Mhm.
networking call, and we were talking about how mindfulness is such an incredible skill that you can develop that you can really leverage in your
Mhm.
business. And just being aware, like you mentioned, oh, I did something and I need to give myself a pat on the back
Yeah.
because nobody else is going to do that for me. I'm by myself in my office. Like, I can't turn to my colleague and be like, woohoo, we did that. Like, who am I
Yeah.
telling?
Yeah. My dog.
Right? I was gonna say my
Yeah.
little chihuahua. She's right
Yeah,
here.
they're
I can
so
tell
proud of
her.
me.
I'm sure she get really
Yeah.
excited. No
Yep.
idea what I'm talking about, but still she'll wag her tail and she'll lick me silly. But there's nobody, so we need to be our own
Yeah.
champions and remember what we're doing this for.
Absolutely. And the other thing is it kind of goes back to mindset too, is thoughts disentangle themselves when they pass through your lips or your fingertips. So sometimes we feel so overwhelmed, right? There's so much going on in our heads, and we're just like, I've got so much to do. I don't have enough time, whatever it is. Once you write it out, it suddenly becomes so much clearer, and it's no longer in your head anymore. You don't need to use that brain energy to remember all the things that you need to do. You can just see them and check them off. That helps so much too.
I had to write that down. That was so powerful. Thoughts disentangle themselves when they pass through your lips or your fingertips. I mean,
Hmm.
if anybody takes anything away from this, watching this, it should be that. That was so
It's so
powerful.
true. It's so true though.
Yeah, no, completely. And so this is your second venture.
Mhm.
What would you say you wish you had known before you started either your first business or this second business? What would you wish you would have known?
That is a good question. Everything. No, but really, I think one of the biggest things, kind of keeping with the theme that we're talking about now, is really mentality is everything. And then also, we tend to think imposter syndrome really gets us all. So I know that there's sometimes that still to this day I get shocked that people think I'm as professional as I really am. And some of the questions and the conversations and the strategy meetings that I have, sometimes I'm like, why me? Why do you think that I should even be here? But realistically, there's a reason they think that I should be here. So even when you're starting your business and you're sitting, in your bedroom or on your couch or, whatever it may be, your client is hiring your company. They're not hiring, the person sitting on the couch necessarily. They're hiring all of your branding, all of your marketing, they're hiring that. So make sure you're bringing that to the table and not, sweatpants on the couch, even though that is really comfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's completely allowed. Like on Wednesday, I'll be working from Disney. Will I be telling people that I'm working from Disney? Well, I am now, but I'm not necessarily telling the people that I'm on the call with,
Yeah.
right? Because it is something that I might share with somebody that I know it will be relevant to and it'll appeal
Hmm.
to, but I'm not necessarily going to be saying it to the masses. That imposter syndrome comes in so well with what you mentioned earlier, which was surround yourself with the right people and the right network,
Hmm.
and you want to be with people that build you up, right? And they
Yeah.
talk about you, and they help you realize, hey, you are actually awesome. You might not see it, and you start seeing yourselves in their eyes.
Exactly. And then it's always good to have those who are like, yeah, no, you are actually crazy on this one too. So maybe we should change that a little bit.
And it's that criticism, that it's understanding where is it coming from, or like what
Hmm.
person is telling me this, why is it, because they want to help me or they want to put me down? Once you
Yeah.
analyze that and you realize they want to help me, then okay, I'm going to listen and I'm going to think about this critically. I might not do what you said, but it'll give me a different way to think.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah,
were to
absolutely.
share one resource with a fellow entrepreneur that's struggling with business right now, whether it's a podcast, a book, or even a person that they should follow on social media, what would that be?
So recently I read Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, because he's the founder of Nike. And that is so I used to do a lot of, I still do to a certain extent, like self-help, business development, all those books, all the typical ones, I've read them. But then what I started getting really curious in is because anybody can put a book together, they all kind of sound the same after a while. So I started reading memoirs and autobiographies of successful people, because when they do it right, they go through all their struggles. Like Phil Knight, he started, I think the first company was like Blue Ribbon, and he started in his parents' back bedroom. And everybody thought he wasn't going to be successful. And so you follow him through. I mean, obviously, Palm Coast is never going to be as big as Nike, and it's fine. I don't want it to be that big. But you see the real life struggles of, he wasn't successful from day one. He was bankrupt almost a couple of times, and all the different things that he got to where he was, getting to. It is a good reminder and kind of puts things into perspective that you are not the only one that is going through that. This is the challenge that you signed up for. And, the people who are successful are the ones that continue and keep going. So that book is a really good one. Believe it or not, I really like Chef's Table on Netflix for the same reason.
Okay.
Besides the beautiful food, most of their stories are all about people who were either successful, trying to be successful as chefs. Something happened, and they become like absolute failures, whether the company failed or, whatever, something happened with their restaurant, and then how they built it back up again. So it's kind of like those failure to triumph stories. So I think there's a lot to be learned there in those
I
stories.
really like that. And it's funny that you mentioned once somebody writes a book and it's already been said and done, and the newer ones are sort of reiterations, but maybe just a little bit added. And I had a series before this one, before Let's Talk
Mhm,
Business, which was called the Business Book Challenge. And it was all about reading professional development books and
mhm.
then getting on a call and just discussing them with a fellow professional. And what I found was, hey, we're going to learn more from people's experiences than from what they've learned from a book, which is why
Oh
I
yeah.
started Let's Talk Business.
Absolutely, yeah. Because the paragraphs in the book are that they're so nice. They got titles, they got bullet points. They're great. But once you actually, I always do better when I know what the challenge is, and I'm like, and I can realize it. So like, if we're going through, a hard time in the business, for whatever reason, I can be like, oh yeah, I knew that was coming because of these decisions that I made. I knew that was going to affect our bottom line for a while. It's going to be good, that ultimately it'll be good, but that's where we are right now because of those decisions. So it kind of takes the emotions out of it again. And so being able to learn from people that have also done that, you can start recognizing those patterns in your life as well. And be like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is part of the process. It's gonna be okay. Just hang in there.
Yeah, just
So
just write that roller coaster. My wife, one of the best advice she ever gave
mhm.
me when I got my first business was be prepared to make one mistake every single day.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because the moment that you do, you can now say, okay, that was my mistake for the day. What did I learn? Okay, this is what I learned. Did I, can I fix it next time? Yes, it was in my control. I could fix it. Was it not something I could fix? It
Mhm.
was out of my control. What could I do? But if you're prepared to do that, then it's easier to move on and learn from it
Yeah.
than if
Yeah.
you're like just constantly dragged down by those mistakes.
Yeah, mistakes happen. So just acknowledge them and roll with it. Control the controllables and roll with the rest.
Control Alt Delete. If there was one fun fact that you could share with our audience, what would that be?
So when we started Palm Coast Staffing, part of the reason that we started Palm Coast Staffing was because we wanted to travel in an RV. So the first 2 years, we were in an RV out in the middle of nowhere using Starlink.
Oh my God, I love that.
Hmm. Yep. And so now we still periodically take it out. Next summer, I think we're going to be gone for 6 months. We're going to go from Florida to Alaska and back. So that's a fun fact.
That's exciting. Do you
Yeah.
have like an RV community online that you belong to and you chat with people?
We aren't a part of any right now. I mean, we're part of like, the random Facebook groups and stuff, but not like a solid networking community.
Talk about being alone in business. You're truly now like putting yourself in an RV by yourself.
Yeah, like way out there. Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, thank
Oh
you for
yeah.
sharing. If any of the viewers today would like to connect with you, what is the best way to reach you? Whether it's your website, an email, LinkedIn, what's the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best way. So it's just Lauren Fernandez on LinkedIn. I do have an Instagram, which is Pomco Staffing. So PS _ Lauren Fernandez on Instagram. And then there's always email, which is Lauren@pomcostaffing.com.
Amazing. I'll make sure to get that information from you. I
Yep.
might already have it. So if I do, I'll share. If not, I'll reach out. But thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for watching Let's Talk Business, and I hope you tune in to the next one.